You're on mute.
Good morning.
Why did it go? What happened? That's somebody else's monitor.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Leave me.
Good morning, everyone. It's Kelly. Robin just let me know she's going to have to call back in. So I'm going to go ahead and do the roll call. So Chattanooga State.
Here.
Cleveland here. Columbia.
Here.
Dyersburg.
I'm here.
It's nice to hear your voice again.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
Jackson. Motlow. Nashville. Northeast.
We're here.
Mississippi.
Here.
Rowan State. Southwest.
Here.
Volunteer State.
Here.
Present.
Walter State.
Here.
And then our university friends, Austin P.
Here.
ETSU,
We're here.
MTSU,
Here.
TSU,
Here.
Tennessee Tech,
Here.
Memphis.
Here.
Okay, and then TBR folks on the phone. Chris, are you here?
This is Chris.
Okay. Melissa,
Melissa had to run to a Starbucks because her house lost power, so she'll be on soon.
okay. All right, are there any other TBR folks on the phone?
This is Teresa.
And Donna Mack.
Perfect. All right, Robin, are you all ready to go now?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Good. Thank you. I was being so proactive and have been sitting here for about 20 minutes thinking I was good. Okay. So this morning we do have a couple of special guests. So if you all heard, Donna Mack is on the call with us. And we'll introduce her officially in her capacity in just a few minutes. But then we have Nancy on the line with us?
I'm here.
All right. We've got you on the agenda first if you're ready.
I am. Thank you. Mine will be very quick. I just wanted to give a quick reminder that audits and outcomes for reverse transfer are due December 13th. And I sound like I'm echoing. I'm sorry. And if you will send me an email of any students that were awarded a reverse transfer degree outside of the normal process, it helps for tracking for us if those are sent to me. And then a question I had for the group, and this can be done email if easier, setting the cycle dates for the next for the upcoming spring 2020 and for reverse transfer. And I'm trying to find out if we are all on the same calendar. I do have Columbia State's calendar for when grades are due. And the issue we ran into was that grades were due after the audit date was complete. For MTSU was one that we founded at the school. It doesn't affect that many students, but I do like register input when setting the cycle date so that we can get them as accurate as possible and to have as many as possible. So my email is ndietri1@tennessee.edu. So if you have input on cycle due dates, when your final exams are, your graduation dates, grades due, that would be very helpful, as I'm going to be setting that and getting that information out to everyone pretty soon. That's it. If there's any other questions for me.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Nancy?
Is there any input from the community colleges on how early you ideally like to get this? One of the things we struggle with is we've not even finished posting the degrees, so we don't even need to send you people that we might be sending you.
Say that one more time.
I was just wondering how early are the community colleges actually starting with it? Because the cycle has gotten so early that we're still posting degrees for students. And so those students are in that information that we're sending in and they really don't need to be. And we're waiting to try to get the information from the community colleges of where they've posted an associate's degree so that we can make sure we code that on subcall so that we don't resend them who they've already posted and so forth.
Absolutely. That's what I'm looking for is input like that, so that I know for upcoming dates. we set them with Academy One as well so that there is time to run the system. But I think I agree that we were too early this cycle. Um, so that would be very helpful just to send me those dates for upcoming cycles in advance. That way we have that going into it and know.
Nancy, this is Deidre from Northeast State. You had put a question of, are all community colleges on the same calendar? So for the start and the end of the semester, typically we are, because TBR dictates that. I don't know what it used to be, the AF19 guidelines. I don't know what it is now. So we always start the fourth Monday in August and it goes 15 weeks. So that question is yes, but I agree with Teresa. We've got to figure out something, because the amount of duplicated work that we are, like my graduation analyst is having to do with going back and reviewing students who we just reviewed this last semester, it's very cumbersome. It's very frustrating.
Absolutely, and that's something that I think we can fix. So by working together on that with those dates, because yes, that's what we don't want is anything. That's the whole point of the semi-automated system too, is to try to get the workload off of records offices as much as humanly possible. So I think dates are one way to do that. There's many other ways that we're trying to do that, and input is always welcome on that too.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments for Nancy? Do we want to work on a proposal of our timeline and send it to Nancy?
There's crickets, but that would be wonderful.
It'd be nice to know, like, when, with the start of a term, I know everybody's busy. When do you actually start looking at it at a community college level, and then trying to build the dates back from there so that you have it at that time?
Do we have anybody who would like to spearhead leading a small group to discuss a proposal?
This is Deidre. I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Deidre. Appreciate it.
Deidre Ball State will help.
Roan will help too, Deidre.
Okay. Thank you all. Is there anything else for Nancy this morning? And if you can see my screen, I do have the reminders in the question that she posed. If you need that, I'll be glad to send it to you as well. Okay, thank you very much this morning for your time, Nancy.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Okay, so next on our agenda is an update on e-transcripts. Teresa, I think I heard you on the call, and do you also want to make the other special guest announcement?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm excited to announce that Donna Mack has joined TBR. Do I have echo?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yes,
So she has joined TBR, and she's currently assigned to the e-transcripts project. Hold on, let me see if I can change a setting. Just a second. Okay, is that any better? Okay, so Donna has joined the TBR, and she's currently assigned the e-transcripts project. So you'll be hearing her voice in some upcoming meetings related to our project.
And some updates from Base Camp.
Correct. And so we have some exciting news regarding our e-transcript project. We recently found out that as a part of the renewal of the eVisions contract, that ScriptDirector is now included in that contract. It's not a separate purchase that TBR has to make. And so the pilot team is working and they have running their Form Fusion with ScriptDirector and creating the PDF output that looks pretty much just like your paper transcript. And so because of that, we no longer have to modify the e-transcript project or processing to accommodate and be able to send a transcript outside of the Tennessee or outside of the TBR system. So what we would like to do, the clearinghouse is going to get everyone set up with their access to the ETX network. I am having a call with them later today to make sure, because they want to set that up and turn it on in prod. And I want to make sure before they do that what exactly that means. So it's not going to mean that you're going to start getting, I want to make sure that it's not going to mean you're going to start getting XML transcripts, because that is our first preference. We've also made, with the clearinghouse, great strides in getting the XML to their PDF that they'll be creating that will be coming simultaneously with the XML document. We got all of those data elements mapped. And so now today they should be either this week or next week announcing how long that coding is going to take. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a Gantt chart that we've created for the e-transcripts implementation. And I want to show that to you. This has been shared with THEC, with the clearinghouse, and also with TBR. Okay, and can you see my Excel document?
Yes.
Okay. So here is our e-transcripts Gantt chart, and basically we just charted out the project and put in every piece of the project that has to happen, all of the steps that need to occur in order for us to implement. And so we're targeting implementation early and mid-March, and depending on your where you fall in the scale up, whether you're west, east, or middle, will determine the implementation timeline or the implementation time frame. And these, I just placed them into the Gantt chart. The dates have not been set in stone, so I'm going to be sending a poll to see if I can get from the schools which week they would like to implement based on region. So I'll be sending a poll out for that. I'll also be sending a poll because I would like to, Donna and I would like to get a call with the non-pilot schools so that we can provide more information, and then there's setup that we would like to have completed in your environments by the 1st of February. So we didn't want to mandate that be done by the end of the year with all the holidays coming up. We know you're trying to prepare for end of term, all of those things. And then January, we've listed pretty much as a blackout period. But we're hoping between now and February 1st, you'll be able to do some setup so that we can at least get some pings going, so that we can do testing in the month of February for your implementation in March. And then we'll also be looking to, Heidi Lemming had some ideas of moving a few schools around. If you're in the middle, maybe moving you some to the east or some to the central, or some, not to the central, some to the east, some to the west. And so I'll be, the schools that she had suggested move to another region, I'll have a direct conversation with you to see if that is going to work for your school. If not, we can work through that piece. Also, I'll be sending the polls to the individuals that are currently in Basecamp. So if you have individuals that have rolled off the project, or you need to switch some people out, if you can just let me know. You can always go to Basecamp to see who's included in your team. I think I might still have Basecamp up. Let me see. So if you go to your project, your team, you should see at the top who is in your team. If you don't see that, just let me know. Or if any of those individuals are changing, if you can let me know that as well, so I can send out the poll to the right individuals. Are there any questions? And then the other big news is that previously we had thought that the TBR, when a transcript goes from a TBR school to a TBR schools, and when I say TBR school to TBR school, I'm encompassing within that also the universities. So from who's going to be getting, who potentially could be getting XML from a community college within the TBR system. So the clearinghouse has mentioned that they're not just doing XML plus PDF simultaneously for TBR. They'll actually be implementing that for anyone that goes XML. So if a school outside of TBR, even outside of the state of Tennessee, so let's say Kentucky, Florida, Georgia, if their first preference is XML, they'll also receive the PDF simultaneously, which we're hoping that this will encourage other schools outside of Tennessee to start utilizing the XML processing, and so that the automatic articulation is much easier and smoother. Also, some news from an Ellucian perspective. Ellucian Development is looking to enhance the XML processing. So currently eTranscripts, what you have in your production system right now, does not utilize the Sharpese or Sharpese, SHRPESE processing. It uses another process. TBR has been testing code from Ellucian Development that actually runs the Sharpese process, and I have to go because they're doing a tornado drill right now. So, Robin, how do I can log back in a few minutes, but we have to actually take cover.
Yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately, that goes for me too, Robin. Sorry. We'll be back as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Tim, are you ready?
Yeah, I can jump on for a second.
Okay.
I'm on this morning to talk about the Student Identity Project. The committee met a couple of weeks ago and is still moving forward. We met with TBR Legal. There's still a lot of questions to answer, and of course we're meeting with the student affairs folks who are trying to simultaneously work out what can be done from a student support perspective And so it's a pretty complicated process to roll this out and do it in a very positive manner for all of our students and all of our campuses. So one of the things that we're in the process of doing is developing a survey to find out, sorry guys, I know there's a lot of noise around me. So one of the things we're doing is developing a survey to find out how interested you are in implementing certain things like gender identity coding, personal pronoun coding, preferred name, that sort of thing. And so all of this work, by the way, in case you didn't know, is based on the ACRO recommendations. The ACRO recommendations, you can download them for free from the ACRO website. It's under Signature Initiatives and then Student Identity. But there is a section of practices in there, and there's one for gender identity, one for pronouns, one for preferred name. And they follow a good, better, best model. So if you're doing this, you're doing good. If you're doing this, you're doing a little better. If you're doing this, then that's what the ultimate best practice would be. So for many of us, we may be doing some things that are in the good category, some things that are in the better category, and some things that are in the best in those areas. And when you move past those particular recommendations, there are additional recommendations for actual business processes in admissions, financial aid, data, which would be pretty much the registrar's office, and then also in human resources. So, and again, following the good, better, best practice model. So when the survey comes out, it's going to ask you in those top 3 areas, have you experienced issues with or student requests, challenges, concerns, whatever, I don't remember the exact word, with student pronoun, preferred name, and gender identity. After that, the survey moves into a detailed response related to how interested you are in implementing the definition piece by piece. So it's not just, hey, do you want to be good, or hey, do you want to be better? It's of the 5 things under good, how interested are you in implementing each of those individual 5 things? And then it moves to better. How interested are you in implementing the 3 or 4 things under better? So what I'm warning you is that the survey is not our typical 2-minute survey. This is going to take you a little bit to fill out. I would probably set aside 30 minutes. And I don't have a firm deadline for you yet, but it's not going to be like, hey, while you're driving to TACRO next week, please fill out the survey. So don't stress about that. But the survey is quite long. When you get the survey email, there'll be a link to the student identity report from ACRO, because I think that you're going to want to download that and read it in advance. I know that there's some areas that I can't answer on my own because it has to do with recommendations about human resources and personnel records. So you're going to have to reach out to your counterparts in financial aid, your counterparts in HR, and this is the kind of thing. So this is the kind of thing where we'd want 1 submission per institution. So it'll have to be coordinated. Nobody is going to say that, you know, you say you want to do this, you say it's important. Nobody's going to be like, we're absolutely going to do this. I mean, some of the things that are in here probably are not even technologically possible with a full implementation of Banner 9. So don't feel like you're committing your institution to doing something. You're just saying how interested you are. And everything will have an option for either not interested or unknown, something along those lines. So that way you can sort of opt out. But I would take a little bit of time. The report is long, but you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the items in the report before you start answering the survey. And the survey is going to come specifically to the 2-year admissions and records group. As far as I know, there's no intention, even though there's financial aid and HR stuff in here, there's no intention to roll it out to those groups. because we're looking at it from a technological and coding perspective. So I know this isn't exactly cheerful, happy-go-lucky information, because it is quite a bit of work, and there's some philosophy here and some broader implications on where we move with student identity as institutions, and could be breaking some ground in this. But it's really to give TBR some guidance on where, and the committee on where we want to focus energies, because this project is planned to be a campus up project, not a TBR down project. So TBR is looking for our input and our buy-in before moving forward with anything. So this isn't something that we're being told, hey, we've got to do this. They're saying, hey, what do you really want to do? What do you think we're capable of? And that's where we're going to invest our time and resources for not only just the coding piece, which will be us, but also the student support piece and the policy piece, which will be outside of our areas in many cases. So that's an awfully long report, but I wanted to be sure that you got all this information before I send you this link, and it's not the typical 5 questions, but it's 50 or 60 questions. So any questions for me at this time? All the people that are testing me right now, because I just told you it's a 30-minute survey, you're muted. I didn't even get a laugh out of that. Somebody unmuted. So, seriously, any questions for me? Okay. You guys will probably see this in the next couple of weeks. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to email me or Laura, or both of us, and we'll do our best to answer the questions. If you have concerns, certainly email those as well, and we'll do the best to get everything addressed that we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, did I see that Teresa is back?
I am.
Okay.
So I'll try to pick up from where I left off, which I think I was talking about the Sharpezi and Sharpezi processing for the e-transcripts. And so Ellucian is enhancing the, they're using for XML, the SHR PESE and SHR PESI. And so previously those were the XML import and export processes within Banner. And we utilized those about 4 years ago. And so Ellucian development is enhancing the Sharpezi import process so that there aren't as many manual steps that you have to go through when you're importing in the data into SHA-TAEQ. So that's good news for us. And then it's also good news because other schools outside of TBR, hopefully we hope this will get them to start using XML so that everyone can do automatic articulation. And from a clearinghouse ETX network perspective, if the universities would like to go and get set up with the clearinghouse, it's a free service to them. And if you pick your first preference as XML, then you'll start receiving XML transcripts from the schools within TBR as well, you know, from the community colleges. And so the receiving institution is the institution that designates how the transcript, what format the transcript would be in. So if you elected to be a part of the Clearinghouse ETX network and you chose to be PDF as your first preference, then a transcript that came from one of the TBR community colleges would be in the format of the PDF. If your first preference was XML, then you would get the XML output from the community college at the Clearinghouse as well. Are there any questions about that? Okay, be looking for the polls for the community colleges. I'll be sending those polls out. And as I mentioned, from the groups that are already set up in Basecamp. Robin, I think
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Teresa? All right. So next we have the records retention and disposal of records policy. That group did have a discussion yesterday and pulled together the concerns. We'll be reviewing those and then sending those on to Dr. Lemming, hopefully by end of day tomorrow, so that we can kind of see where we stand on that. Anybody have any questions or concerns on that policy? Okay. So then I also wanted to bring up a conversation that I have received from my IT director. John Khaleesi has discussed with them wanting to take the campus ID number and turn it into directory information. So if my screen is still showing, you should see the email that he sent to that group. And then my campus has concerns with it from the standpoint that we use that campus ID number in the setup of our student net logons for Luminous. But also just wanted to make everyone else aware that that conversation is occurring. So if you have concerns with it, you may want to also talk to your IT directors and let them know what your concerns are as they're discussing this. I haven't heard anything on it since she brought it up, which, as you can see, was a couple of weeks ago, the end of October. But does anybody have any questions or concerns around this?
Robin, we can't see your screen.
My screen is not sharing. What am I showing?
A big
Is it an
gray
email?
blob. No, it's just a gray blob.
Robin, this is Tim. I'm actually still on the call. I got that email as well and provided information back to my IT director pretty extensively on how it would be legal, or the conditions under which it would be legal for an institution to use student ID as directory information under FERPA. But I think for most of us, that's not going to work because the way we use student ID to authenticate students to their passwords, and like you said, to get to your network login or to your self-service login. So it really is all about how you use that student ID on your campus as to whether or not that can be done legally under FERPA on your campus. If anybody's interested in that information that I forwarded my IT director, if you'll just email me, I'll be happy to send that to you.
Okay, any other questions or concerns on that?
Hey, Robin, this is MTSU. Do you know why IT is pushing this? I mean, they're pushing it on our campus too. Do you know the reasoning behind it?
I don't. I'm not sure where it came from. I just received the response from my IT director, who is aware of our need to not make it directory. Teresa, do you have any insight on this topic?
Unfortunately, this is the first time I heard of it. I believe might have something to do with the Azure project, but I'm not positive.
Aren't the TCATs using it in their email or something?
The TCATs already have, the TCATs are already doing this, I believe.
Yeah, that's part of the conversation also.
Okay. Any other comments or concerns with that? I mainly just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. So if you weren't aware of it, then you may want to reach out to your IT director and find out what your institution's stance is, or at least have some involvement in that decision. Okay. From our functional topic standpoint, Teresa said she didn't have anything to bring to us, but are there any questions for Teresa?
Teresa, this is Gail at Cleveland. We're getting several errors in our clearinghouse at error 201. Is that something that I could just email you about directly, or is anybody else in the group having the same problem?
You can certainly email it to me, Gail, and I can look at it. Just how about we send me an email on a time that would be good for you, and then we can do a Zoom session instead of sending me the, just in case there's PII, it'd be better if we just did a Zoom session or a WebEx session.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else for Teresa? As I put her on the spot.
And that's okay. And I guess I could mention that the TBR SMO, we are currently working on the admin page defects. This has been communicated at the IT level to on the DBA calls, but I'm not certain that information is trickling down to you. So we have been working for the past couple of weeks on the mod defects, and as soon as we get more of those addressed, then we'll be sending out a release for testing. We did have a release that went to a few select schools for testing that Lucian had provided fixes for. Many of those pages either didn't have, the changes didn't make a difference as far as the error and address it, or the changes caused other issues in addition to or instead of the original issue. So we have been testing internally. We've made some changes to So Is Big Guy. We've made changes to SOATerm, and I've just recently this morning identified the issue with SFA REGQ, where the default number of, not the default number, the attending hours are not correctly displaying. Basically, it looks like it's doubling the information. And so I think we've identified that issue, and we'll be looking to address a correction, put a correction in place. And then SOA test looks like that has been addressed as well. And then the last one we'll be looking at is SFA regs. So I believe what we'll do is once I get the fix in place for SFA REGQ, we'll send out a zip file with those admin pages being fixed for testing to schools. And then we'll be working on SFA regs while the others are being tested. And if your school is willing, if you aren't currently one of the testing schools, if you're willing to test, if you could send me an email, then I can add you to that testing matrix.
Okay. Are there any questions for Teresa? All right. So from the state level topics, I had a conversation yesterday with Troy Grant, and there have been some concerns brought up from some universities where they purchase the ACT list and realizing that the number of students in their purchase is declining because of some issues with gathering the survey information. And Troy is just curious how many community colleges are also using those ACT purchase lists. Do we have anybody who is purchasing the ACT list to use? Okay, no one. All right, thank you very much.
Robin, you're just asking what community colleges purchase it, right?
Yes, yes, because we know that there are, most of the universities are purchasing, but he wasn't sure if any of the community colleges were also purchasing those lists. Okay. So Chris
Robin?
or Melissa? Yes.
Can I ask an ACT question in this slot?
Sure.
Is anybody using pre-ACT scores, and is there a defined code we're supposed to use, or is anybody doing that yet?
Pellissippi is for dual enrollment students.
Did you just make up your own codes, or?
I don't know, Teresa. I don't remember. Let me look.
We're going to do it for dual enrollment students as well because they've eliminated the plan and access test, and so we're doing that. But we didn't know if there was a common code, and it'd be great if we could use a common code. But
Hey, this is Chris. I just looked through my document with the test code updates we've made historically, and I see 6 values pre-ACT on there. I'll just send those back out to the entire group. I think the schools that have already done it probably will have used those. I can't remember exactly when I emailed those out, but we do have some standards.
that would be great. Thank you, Chris. I also have a strong question. Do we have a code for that yet?
So here's what we did with the enrollment script as far as strong so far, because when I asked the group at the last meeting if there was a standard strong code or if people were kind of assigning assorted codes, what we did with the way that we collect the extract is that basically any code that's not immediately recognized as one of the ones we've done a one-to-one crosswalk for, those students will be lumped into the veterans other category on the enrollment extract. And so I haven't moved forward with trying to assign a standardized code for that. Right now, we're just going to collect that as kind of the veterans other fields in the extract. But I will probably want to pursue in the nearish future setting a standardized code for that.
And was the putting everything else in the other, any code that's not directly mapped, is that a recent change, or has that always been there?
That, I believe, is going to be a recent change as of this fall 19 end of term. I don't think it's always been in there, but I haven't looked, to be honest.
I don't think it was, and I was hopeful it was new because we had used a code different, and we were about to start changing all of our students to a different code, but sounds like we won't have to now.
Yeah, we will not have to worry about setting a standardized code for that right now. I do want to still kind of pursue getting that common, but just kind of the timeline that we had. What I worked with Amanda Bird on was just kind of lumping all of those other codes that are out there into one category in the enrollment collections.
Okay. Anything else concerning ACT? Okay, so Chris, Melissa?
Hey, this is Melissa. Chris, do you want to talk about the online location code first? Because some of the LGIs may want to hear about that, and they may not be interested in what I have to show.
Sure. Yeah, so on the online location code, that was something we had talked about at our last meeting, was moving to, rather than having schools code their online courses as at the main institution, we would develop an additional code that would be used as the online location. So Melissa and I have talked to THEC about that. We think they're on the same page so far. From what we've heard, they've been agreeable to that change. But we do need to kind of sit down with them and kind of map out exactly how it's going to work. I did want to get some feedback as far as timing on that. What THEC basically said is, we would be comfortable with moving in that direction basically at the start of the next academic year or start of next fall, kind of whatever as far as whether we want to start it in the summer or the fall. But I know as far as like you guys setting up your course schedules and things like that, you're probably pretty far ahead on that. So if we wanted to start that online location code with fall 2020, when would I need to get that code to you in order for you to be able to do that?
January, February?
1st of January.
1st of January. All right, that's what I needed to know. So we'll work with THAC. I'll have more time to talk to them now that they've gotten their funding formula stuff out the door. And so we'll try to go ahead and get that established by January 1, so you guys will have that code in hand for building your fall schedules.
And there will be definitions related to what that's supposed to include. Like, you know, you start doing hybrid and some of it's online, some of it's in person. Will there be definitions of what should be coded with an online campus code?
Yeah, we'll need to work through that, and I think that's where I'll need y'all's feedback as we move forward on this. Like, for instance, I don't know if we would be talking about just campus online or if that's going to include the eCampus stuff also. I mean, my thought that it would be specific to campus online. I think for eCampus, you guys use different location codes that are relevant to that institution that's actually teaching the course, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So yeah, campus online, and then when it comes to whether it's online or hybrid or some other hybrid, then we'll have to kind of work through that. I would think it would probably be where historically we have placed the delivery method as campus online, we would want to use this location code.
Okay, so like web, I think is the code. So if we have web, then that'd be the corresponding campus code.
Yeah, that is my personal opinion. Now, if you guys think otherwise, you know, let me know via email maybe over the next couple of weeks as we start to kind of really dive in with THAC on this.
So, Tim, it sounds like Tim's not on the call, and so I'm going to throw him under the bus. He was the one that really started this conversation, and he had certain reasons why he wanted to do this related to keeping faculty from making their own online course and just some other things. So I would like to work with him and to nail down those definitions so that this code can work for you all in doing what you need to do to maybe charge different rates or keep faculty from, you know, throwing a course online without getting, you know, permission first and those kind of things.
This is Darla at the University of Memphis, and if you would also include me in that conversation, if you don't mind, when you talk to Tim, because we've been using Campus Code to identify our Global, which are our online classes, but it would be really a big overhaul for us. So if you could include me, that would be great, and then that'll help me think through what we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. So I wanted to ask one other thing. I actually just got an email from Amanda Birds requesting the institution test our changes to the enrollment script for the end of term. So this is going to include that change to the veterans codes. Is also going to include collection of AccuPlacer Next Generation scores. And then for the University of Memphis, it's going to deal with y'all's special kind of classification of residency that you all passed. So if I could get a handful of institutions to volunteer, that would be great.
TSU test.
Yep, Memphis in, of course.
Yeah, TSU will test as well.
Okay, who is that second one? I missed it, sorry.
Tennessee State University.
Okay, I've got MTSU and TSU. Anybody else?
Memphis, please. This is Darla Keel.
Okay. Any community colleges? All right, I'm going to volunteer somebody and not too and soon. So I'll reach out to a couple of other schools, maybe community colleges, and see if we can get a couple additional testers. There's only like 2 or 3 changes from the most recent file, so hopefully it won't be a big change.
Will those be defined so we can really target our testing?
Yeah, well, Amanda Bird and I will work on an email to send out the changes that we made. All right, thanks.
Okay, I guess I'm next on the list. I was going to pull out my dashboard, census enrollment dashboard, so to give you all a picture of what's going on for this fall. And is there any way that I can steal the screen?
Yes. Will it let you just say take share over?
Okay. So, is it share content?
Yes.
All right, so let's see, can you see my screen?
Better be good, Coop. You know where I am. So, did you know that Grace is heading back to Cincinnati? Yeah, sometime after Christmas.
Are you able to see the screen?
Why would she do that? I don't know.
I can't see it yet.
Okay.
You gotta stop her, Coop.
Let's see.
You gotta help me out here. Under no circumstances is Grace to leave Rivers Crossing. So it's not like I'm counting on you, Coop. Just make it happen. We're gonna pick this up on Monday, folks, after Christmas. Court adjourned.
All right, does that look, oops. Can you all see that now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So someone's got some, okay. There we go. All right, so this is what we saw. This is the link to this dashboard is in the helpful data links on the Trello board. And so I just updated, we went through this last year, I just updated it with this year's numbers. And of course, this is just community colleges. I don't use the LGI data for anything at all. Actually, I'm not even finished. I don't even have all of that data in the database, so I'm unable to use it. But anyway, so I just wanted to give a little update on where we are this year. So as you can see, our head count is pretty much flat, as seen by the green bars being pretty much flat, and the black line shows FTE, and this continuing to head downwards. And my assumption is that that's more of those reconnect students who only need to have 6 credit hours in order to receive funding. If we run through the different age groups, we see that dual enrollment's continuing to increase. 18 to 20s are flat and declining in FTE. 21 to 24, that group that doesn't get any funding, is really going down. And then the 25 or greater is flattening out. I wanted to point out a couple schools, and it's not, I'm not trying to pick on them. It's just, I think I found their stories to be kind of interesting. When we look at Dyersburg, I noticed that their less than 18-year-olds, which is their dual enrollment, is steeply declining. Now, you have to be careful when you look at these graphs as they change, because these, the y-axes on both sides will change as you change to, well, different schools. And so that black line will tend to look very scary, but it may not be as scary as it looks. However, Dyersburg looks to be struggling with their dual enrollment, and I'm going to be coming back to this slide in just a little bit. And then the other story that I saw was Pellissippi, and I thought, oops, I thought it was interesting. They're 25 or greater. You can see when they started Reconnect that that enrollment went up, but now we're seeing a flattening out and maybe a slight decline. So I'll be coming back to that story also. One other thing I wanted to point out is our 18 to 20-year-olds. We're seeing a decline, slight decline overall. And what I did was I went to and I pulled up their Tennessee high school graduate prediction trends, and that's what this tall green line is up here. And then I put over top of this TBR 18 to 20 year enrollment trends, and I tried to line them up so that this is fall 12 and it lines up with the 12 of the WICHE, right? And so this is 19, 18, 19, this is 19, so it kind of lines up with the 19. And the thing I found interesting was that our line is trending the same as the WICHE predicted line. And so if you want to take this back to your campus, unless you already have done so, it may help you look towards, or maybe you've done this already, look towards what you can expect as far as first-time freshman potential enrollments. So for your strategic enrollment plans, perhaps. But so those are our overall trends. You can continue to look through this. I've updated the data, so you can continue to look through the dashboard. I wanted to stop at this particular dashboard to go back to the Dyersburg. So this is enrollments by county. And so if we look at Dyersburg and we look at the less than 18, they're able to see that they're losing their Tipton, they've lost some, and I believe Obion, yeah, they've lost some. And my guess is this is probably UTM stepping into their territory, I would guess. And so, yes?
Sorry, Melissa, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is Heather. Do you want me to tell you the story, or do you want to just, or not,
sure.
Or do you care?
Sure. Is it UTM is the culprit?
That is a piece of it. The other piece of it is our scholarships for dual enrollment students changed from 17 to 18 and 19, which is much of the reason for the decline, because we were offering scholarships for classes 3 and 4 to make up the difference, like the grant classes 3 and 4. But then we, beginning in fall of 18, we're no longer doing that. So that is why you see a lot of that decline beginning at 18, and it carried over into 19. So the combination of UT Martin coming in and providing those scholarships and us having to pull those back is that's the explanation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes, and I believe didn't they just pass I don't know, legislation or something where they're going to start, the state will start funding those 3 and 4 classes? Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, okay.
So, unless it's something like the GIVE, unless it's the GIVE Act, and then there's only certain courses, but I don't want to.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's a good thing to know. And then there's a lot more that goes on, thinking about that kind of stuff. But it's clearly the data is showing that trend. Let's see. So as we continue through, I did want to land on one more slide here. I thought it was really interesting. This is that slide that breaks students down into the categories of the top yellow line is returning. This green line here are your first-time freshmen. This black line is your dual enrollments, I believe. The red line is your readmitted, and this grayish black line is transfer, and this thing down at the bottom is transient. So the interesting thing, obviously, is that in fall 19, we're seeing an increase in returning students, which is good because you're building up your pipeline, right, to have more awards. However, your freshman, your readmit, and your transfer pipeline, those are going down. So that will have implications perhaps in the next semester's and on down the line. You'll see if you click over here on the 25 or greater that that's where we're seeing most of this increase in the return students. Like if you go through the other age groups, it's not such a thing. So it really is the 25 or greater. So I thought, okay, since Pellissippi was the one that started, I'm thinking that this is a reconnect issue. And since Pellissippi started reconnect a year before everyone else, if we take a look at Pellissippi, we can see the same thing happened to them except a year earlier. They have their returning student increase, and now they've got basically a flat on their returning increase. They've gotten flat on their readmit and their first-time freshmen. So this could be an indicator of what's to come for y'all next year. So thinking, okay, their returning students flattened out. What happened with their awards? Oops. So I have, here we go. So I pulled up the awards dashboard, and overall, we went down a little bit in our awards, 15,240 to 14,968 from the prior year. I thought, well, let's see what happens to Pellissippi if we look at Pellissippi. And what I found is that from 2017 to 18, when they implemented Reconnect, they had a bump in awards, but most of the bump seems to be in the certificate less than 1 year. For the next year, when they did their awards, that kind of went back down, and they leveled off to about where they were prior to the Reconnect year. So that might be an interesting, I'm not sure how that plays out with the other schools as far as what you offer in terms of certificates. And then, so the last slide I'll show you to talk about this story a little bit is I thought it might be interesting to see what programs Pellissippi has seen the largest awards in for their certificate less than 1 years. And actually, I think the table does it better on this one. So when I took Pellissippi and I look at their certificates of less than 1 year, we see a large increase in their business programs. But actually, I thought that this was very interesting. They have a computer and information sciences almost tripled with their less than 1 certificates between 17 and 18. Of course, all the others have increased a little bit also, but I thought that was kind of an interesting one. So those are my stories for today. Does anybody have questions or want me to go over anything? Comments?
Melissa, this is Deidre. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Where did you find the dashboard that had the counties, where the one that you were talking to Heather about Dyersburg? I went to the general, but I'm not seeing it on there.
Oh dear. Okay, so
it's like census, and I don't see that on any of the dashboards that's on just the TBR website.
Okay, so this is not on the TBR website. This whole report is actually a link that's floating out in the web world, and you would need to know what the link is in order to see this, in order to click on it and see it.
Or is it proprietary?
So, so if you go to, how do I close this? If you go to the Trello board,
okay.
You want to find, oops, that's financial aid. Let me go back to admissions and records. Let's see, resources. Is it in here? Enrollment. Here we go. In the resources, pretty far down is your helpful data link.
Okay.
And It is this fall 14th day enrollment report. That's where you'll get that link.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we didn't want to put this out on the TBR website because I didn't think that moms and dads or anybody, you know, I'm not sure that it's an appropriate one for like the general public. And so it is out there. It's just not connected to our website. It may be that someday in the future we'll have this in the what we're calling the TARP, the TBR Analytics and Reporting Portal. And I think we talked about this last summer. We'll have, you'll be able to go into a Power BI, if you want to, a Power BI desktop and click on an app, and there'll be a whole series of different types of dashboards for you to use. And that will be secure. It won't be floating out on the web or anywhere because we'll probably have more PII type data. There won't be PII, there won't be socials or anything on it, but you could probably drill down to specific students if you wanted to. So we need to keep that real secure. So we're going to, we're developing some dashboards for that use that you all will have the opportunity to be able to join and pull up and use those dashboards also. Any other questions? I've got another 20 minutes. We can continue looking at, no, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, thank you. And I will stop sharing as soon as this, here we go.
Thank you, Melissa.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so that was all of the agenda items. Did anybody have any other burning topics that you need to address today?
Well, I do want to give an update for e-transcripts for University of Memphis. There's a couple of things that we have already accomplished, and one of them is we are able to send out, of course, e-transcripts. We're able to detect if a student is in the system or not, receive email notifications of incoming e-transcripts. We're able to receive e-transcripts and automatically build SHA-Trans and SHA-Tech. We're able to populate the SODMS checklist, generate a PDF transcript along with the data, and load SoapCall with all degree information. So, for example, if a student has multiple degrees from the same institution, we can get the bachelor's and master's or whatever loaded to SoapCall. So all of that we have done, and it's working for EDI and XML.
Okay.
You want to share?
Share what we're using?
Yes, some of your setup, or is this like where you use specific type of software?
We are using Credential Solutions. And there's some custom SQL script that we were writing together as well. Now we do have a phase 2, which will automatically sweep and index the PDFs into OnBase, which is our document management system. And the other part would be to re-push e-transcripts when an application is submitted by a student who is not currently in the system. So let's say I have a transcript, but there's no data for that student in Banner. It will check nightly. And then once there is data for that student in Banner, like the student has submitted an application or what have you, it will match up that transcript to the student automatically. But that phase 2 has not been implemented yet.
And this is Darla at the University of Memphis. Oh, I'm getting feedback. Oh. All right, let me try again. I will say too, Credential Solutions, a lot of the work that Charles has been doing with them, because I think we all have similar banners set up, it would probably work for almost everyone as well, because they took into consideration the mods. Different processes were probably somewhat similar, I don't know, but they did a lot of customization for us with Credential Solutions, and Charles has worked very hard to accommodate a lot of our processes, and so we're there. And so there's just a few more, according to Charles, a few more little polishing, and then we'll be able to go into production.
That's correct. So from the transcripts we were testing yesterday, we had a 100% success rate with it matching with courses and students, et cetera, and updating everything appropriately, so there were no errors. We're still going to polish up the code a bit before we release it into prod, but we had a 0% failure rate on our last testing cycle.
And then just a plug for anyone who is going to TACRO next week, 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, Charles and I will be presenting kind of where we are from the community college standpoint on e-transcripts and where University of Memphis is, and our goal of how we will all be able to connect in the long run, where they're able to receive the data that we're sending from their setup as well.
And I will say too, I did send an email to some of the LGIs that are with Credential Solutions, and so we can give you our contact there, and he can work with you on getting yours ready too. And so a lot of the pioneering, I think, is done, and it should not take as long to get you guys going.
Okay, anything else this morning?
Yes, this is Sharon at Columbia. And since we didn't have Tennessee Summit, there was information that went out regarding training that would be available at the board. And I was trying to find out where that is and if that training is going to take place. Just an update on that.
Teresa, we are looking at offering some things next year. We're looking for what items will be available potentially Q1. From a student perspective, I'm not certain that the items will be specific to student in Q1. We'll be looking more for Q2 for student-related items, but there'll be some offerings potentially for things outside of student. So there'll be more information forthcoming related to that. And we've gathered requirements by the schools to determine which items there's interest in. And if you have specific items that you're looking for, if you can email those to me, we can get some those incorporated in future training.
Teresa, I think one of the topics that was included dealt with clearinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know, at this point, was there enough interest in it? Because it's one of the problems that I'm dealing with right now, having a lot of issues with clearinghouse reporting. Not sure if everybody else is having those issues, but that was one of the topics that we were really interested in.
Okay, so for the clearinghouse training session, that was slotted to go in either Q2 or Q3.
Okay.
Based on scheduling, but if you're having actual issues right now, if you want to send me an email and we can get a meeting together and I can review those and help you work through the issues.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
University of Memphis. Yeah, I just walked into the room. I had to step out for a minute. There was a training session you said in Q2 or Q3. What was that about?
It hasn't happened yet. There will be in Q2 or Q3 of 2020.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, you're not talking about an actual training session, not a release, and like not the banner release.
Right. Correct. Yes.
Okay. Just making sure, because I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
That's okay.
I had a question related to the clearinghouse, the SFA CPLR, where you have to put the length of the program for it to report correctly.
Yes.
Is anybody else using a catalog here with that? When we first did it and set everything up, nothing was working. And when I removed catalog here, it started working. And that's how we've been going forth with. But now we're starting to have programs that are changing hours. And so I'm going to have to use catalog here and was wondering if that had actually been fixed or if anybody else had success with that. It's the SFA CPLR.
I'm trying to go there, Teresa, so I can look at it. I think our banner our test environment went down. Are you in a position that you can screen share, Teresa?
Working on it. I'm trying to get there myself.
Okay. I have to alert the DBAs. Our test environment just went down. In the meantime, Robin, I believe John Khaleesi's on the call. I think he was available to answer or provide more information about the student ID.
Okay. John?
I can't hear you, John. I'm pinging him. Hold on.
All right. You know, that mute button and another mute button. So good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. I guess specifically the conversation I was having was geared more towards the TCAT deployment, not necessarily anyone else. However, it would affect everybody because it would be modifying the TBR policy that surrounds this. Specifically, you know, I think we named the student ID as being part of the PII and not being available to the directory information. Based on DOE and what they allow, as long as there's certain considerations met, it could be considered directory information. And the reason why we want to do that for the TCAT system is because that's a part of their email address. That's the element that builds their email address and keeps it specifically for them. There's and that wasn't something we just kind of pulled out of the air. There was a lot of reasons why we landed there from a technical and just operational perspective. But I guess at the end of the day, we're not saying that the universities, obviously, or the community colleges would need to do this, only that each campus could make their decision on what is considered directory information. And I think we do that today. I don't think we have a written in stone standard. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, so it would be more or less just updating the policy itself to allow it, but not require.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we would not want to make that a requirement for everybody. You know, if your campus chose to do that, we just want to make it available to you. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason why we landed there was, as you can imagine, name changes, display issues, marriages, divorces, the whole, I mean, there's just a lot of operational work it takes to support that. And the way we have our accounts provisioned and deprovisioned automatically from through the whole life cycle, we're able to do this, and it works out really well. So we sent it up to General Counsel. They looked at it, they read it, they saw the provisions. They said, as long as you follow this, you should be fine. They're okay with it. As well as we're looking at potentially turning up multi-factor authentication too, as just another level of security for the students. But that's where we are. We are not saying the community colleges need to do this or should do this unless you see a reason to do it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Well, if you guys need anything else, you know where I'm at. Just shoot me an email or give me a call. I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Teresa, are you set to screen share? We have about 5 more minutes before our financial aid friends take the line. Hello?
It says she's starting to share, but I'm not. Let's see that it's actually sharing yet. There we go.
Okay.
I think she's Teresa. If you're speaking, I think you're muted.
I'm not. All 3 screens went black. I could see nothing. I couldn't unmute. Do you see me now?
Yes.
Do you see my information?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So catalog is what I'm asking.
I hooked the phone because I heard that noise, but I forgot my earphones in, so I couldn't hear anyone. So when I plugged them, so I can hear them. Yeah. Somebody got their phone. Since I was leaving,
Hello, someone's not on mute. If you could mute.
I think that's mute, right? Is Red mute? You put a line through.
Okay, so Teresa, you're asking if anyone else uses that catalog start term and end term to drive here?
Yes.
And then Teresa Workman, did you have any additional input in that?
I'll have to go back and review this. I don't remember us setting that up with the catalog start term and end term. I think that all the rules that we created in the curriculum rules area was just the level. Unless you had a program, I don't even know that you guys did it specific to program.
I'll email her and
to go back and
tell her
review.
that my phones were acting up.
I'll have to go back and review to see, but I don't believe that any of the schools that we set up initially, and I don't know that you've changed those rules, use the catalog term.
No, because this is a teaching major, so it's not 4 years, it's 4.5. It has over the
Okay, so can you give us an update? Check that and give us an update on what it should be set up. I can't get into mine, but I'm thinking that we don't have anything at the top but the level.
Basically, all of the engineering.
Right, that's what I think.
Someone else, please mute your phone. It's hard to hear what's being said. Thanks.
Yes, I don't remember the curriculum rules having a catalog term starter end date. And so, Teresa, I see that your rule number 2 doesn't have it, but do you have other rules that do?
No, when I first set it up, I had it in there and nothing worked. So I took them all out and I've been working ever since. But now, like, for example, this program may have changed from 124 hours to 120. And so for prior catalogs, I need to keep it 124 hours. But say for the 2019 catalog, I need to get it changed to 120 and I might need to change my length.
I see. Okay. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I don't think that any of the other schools had catalog program in there, the start date or end date, I mean. So let me check that out, and then I'll also see if the action line has any help that they can. It might have been, I think, I'm not positive, but I'm thinking that I remember something about a defect. So let me see if the action line has other schools using that catalog start term and end term, and then I'll get back with you. I'll send the, do you want me to just send it, Robin, to the admissions and records group?
That's fine. So then we can all review. Okay, so and our financial aid folks are getting ready, and I think some are already signing in. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our call for today. Our next call is scheduled for December 19th. Dr. Lemming did ask if we were aware that that was the Friday before holiday break starts. So if anybody has a strong opinion as to whether to cancel that call or not, please send me an email. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it on the books and kind of see what our agenda items come in as for that particular call. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Two big things of coffee creamer too this morning to put in there. I don't hear any noise. I should be hearing something by now, I think.